Okay, I received this today. I already know what it is. I've been waiting for it to arrive, and I thought I would just unbox it with you, see what we have, and well, maybe we have a restoration, another restoration video in the future here. Put this aside. Well, here's a hint. That should be a clue. This should pretty much give it away right here. And this is what we have. So this is a Tomy Omnibot model 5402. Pretty common, but also pretty common that the batteries have leaked into the remotes. It uses a large 6-volt battery in the back, and the typical thing with these that is just the norm is that the cassette player doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because the belt inside is so old that it just melts. And so pretty much 90% of the restorations that I've done on this has been to replace the cassette belt. So let me get a battery and test this out really quick, and then we'll see if we have a project on our hands. Okay, so that's the battery that we're going to use. It also takes a couple of AA batteries for the clock to work. And we're also going to need some AA batteries for our remote control here. So, don't know if you can pick that up, but the remote control isn't in too bad a shape. There's just a couple of tabs inside that we'll need to clean up because they have some corrosion, and that's just normal. This is actually one of the cleaner remote battery compartments that I've seen, so that's a huge plus. So let me go clean this up really quick because I know that the batteries aren't going to make good contact the way that these things are right now. In the meantime, let's go ahead and open this up. There is a screw in the back right here that holds the battery cover in place. Oh wow. This actually has the original battery in it, which I sincerely doubt is any good after all these years sitting around. These are lead acid batteries, kind of like your old car batteries. So once they sit around forever, that's it. They're dead. And it's hard to revive them. I mean, you can by opening them up and putting distilled water and giving them some electrical treatment, but it's just not worth it. You can buy a new battery for a lot less than the trouble that you'd have to go through. So, well, I take that back. So this is a newer battery. It's a Duracell. So we'll just put it on a voltmeter and take a quick peek and see if maybe we by chance get lucky. But in the meantime, for testing purposes, we can use our battery here that I know works. So let me clean up this remote, and I'll come back and let's give this an initial test and see what we're going to have to restore. Okay, so this is the way I normally clean these you know, up some of this corrosion. I use concentrated vinegar, not the type that you'll find on the store shelves typically, and this is highly concentrated. Now I usually mix it with water since it's so highly concentrated, but in this case the corrosion's pretty bad, so we're just going to go ahead and as soon as you wipe it on, the corrosion just immediately begins to dissolve. So just going to get this. And then once I have enough of it, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but this is turning blue from the corrosion that we're cleaning up. So once I do that, clean up a little bit more of it here. I take a little bit of fine sandpaper and I just sand the contact down a little to expose more of the copper that the vinegar didn't clean up. And that should be enough because there was only this one tab in there that had corrosion. The others look good. So let's try our luck in putting in the battery. So put 4 batteries in, and there you go, working. So now let's see how our robot fares. Last thing I want to do is spill this, so put that aside. So this guy it needs 2 AA batteries. The contacts here look really nice as well. There's no corrosion, and usually there is. So this is actually a pretty nice robot in pretty decent shape. So we'll go ahead and put our 2 AA batteries in here. And that should and if you see the, I don't know if you can see the display there, because there you go. So batteries worked. So that's great. So now I'm going to put our 6-volt battery, plug that in. Let's make sure this is shut off. Yeah. Alright. So let's turn this on and see what we have. We'll try the sound first. Now, let me see the front switches here really quick. Make sure they're on RC. So this button right here, this RC button, needs to be pressed in order for the remote control to work. That one right there. So now let's try this. Yeah. So we got the remote. That's working. Let's see if we can, if the motors work. Oh, there we go. Front. So here's the interesting part. You have the leads reversed on the motors because if I hit backwards, it goes forward. If I hit forward, it goes backwards. So that's probably because someone opened this up at one point and they got the wires cross going to the motor. So we can fix that. So the only other thing that we want to test, and this, like I said, is the norm with these things, is the cassette. There happens to be a cassette in there already. So hit the eject button, take this cassette out. And this cassette, yeah. So they had a Rod Stewart cassette. Now, I don't know if this is the music cassette or they erased it to put some programming on it, but we got some Rod Stewart, Maggie May, yeah. How do you like that? So the thing with the cassette is you want to see if the spindles turn. So here we hit. So that's not turning. That's not turning. That's not turning. So, like I said, typical, that's normal, is that the cassette unit is usually disabled. And that will be our restoration. All right, so we know that the tape unit isn't functioning and this thing goes backwards when it should go forward, goes forward when it should go back. So let's see what the deal is. Let's start by taking this thing apart. It's not too difficult to take apart. There's 6 screws, 3 on each side here. And that's what holds the body together. And then there are anywhere from 6 to 8 screws on the bottom. And the reason I say 6 to 8 is because sometimes they are missing screws. So in this case, we'll see what we've got. So let's start by unscrewing this because this holds the shell on. So we'll take these screws out first. I don't hear these screws clicking when I first unscrew them, so I'm kind of thinking this was taken apart before. Okay, so now that we've got those screws off, let's face it this way. And top just pops out. All right. We'll put the bottom aside for now. Actually, let's take a quick peek at it. So this is the gear case. Bottom's actually quite clean compared to how I usually see these. The nice thing is that these treads are in wonderful shape. Really nice. I have to take a look, a quick peek at that because there we go. All right. So that looks really good. We'll have to figure out, the plug was in the correct way, so I'm still not quite sure why this would go forward when it wants to go backwards and vice versa. So let's open up the robot itself and see if we can find any more clues inside there. You don't have to worry about mixing up the screws with the bottom screws we just took off because they are the same size. So that's a nice thing about this. Okay, so this should separate here on the sides, and you want to be careful because these arms will pop out if you're not keeping tabs on them. Okay, so I usually like to take the arms off right away, that way they don't get in the way. There's one. There's two. Okay, we know we're facing that way. This is on the right, this is on the left. Not that you'll get them mixed up because you have this little tab that opens and closes these claws. That needs to be on the outside. There's obviously no way that you can confuse where this is going to go. Okay, so this is really, really clean. Very impressed. Still don't know why this thing is going in reverse when it should go forward, and I don't see anything weird in here. Everything looks as it should. So let's continue to take this apart though, because we need to get to the tape player. So let's take this off. Yellow's on the bottom, green is to the top. You want to be real careful when you take this off. Why? Because you could pull the little pins from the bottom. So let me get a little something here to help me with this. Okay, actually, after thinking about this just a little bit more, I think I'm just going to leave this intact. I don't want to take the risk. This board is really clean. If I yank this too hard and I rip the pins underneath from their pads, I'm going to have to take this board off and then resolder everything. It'll just be a really bad scene. So let me just leave everything just connected, kind of like as it is. There's more than enough room for us to play with here. The only thing I will need to disconnect though is this antenna wire, and it's the orange wire, and it's usually taped. Yeah, I can feel the tape taped onto the bottom. Okay. All right. So to take the cassette player out, there's just 4 screws. That's it. There's one in here, one up here, and same on the other side. And then this should just slide right out. Okay, that's the front face plate that fell down. Okay. So now here on the bottom on the cassette there's 4 screws that take this cover off. So let me get something to hold this cassette player up here real quick. Okay. Make things a bit easier. All right. this way so you can see a little bit easier. So 4 screws. Okay, on this you have to be careful, especially when you put this back. There's wires that go into a little recess here, so you don't want to crush the wires when you put this case back, okay? All right. Well, that belt's in good shape, so it may not have been the belt. So why don't we connect the battery to it? I'm wondering maybe if the motor is off, which I don't know. You know, I just kind of doubt that. But let's find out. Let's see what's going on here. We'll get this battery in here. All right. That's off. That's on. It's in RC mode. There we go. Now it's moving. So could possibly be that we jarred the thing loose when we disassembled it. Because now it's going. Well, that was an easy fix. It wasn't working obviously when we first tested it, and now it is. So let me put this thing back together then, and and then see what's up with the forward and reverse, because that was the other thing that was weird, right? So, all right. First things first. I was already set to replace that belt too. You know about that. All right. Slide that back in place, making sure there's no wires caught in it. Okay. Well, this is going to be probably the easiest fix or non-fix I've ever done. But at least you got to see, like I said, the number one thing when the tape unit isn't playing is the belt. And it's a lot of goop that gets messed up inside there when the belt melts. And you have to just start taking alcohol to it, cleaning up all the residue, all the melted rubber residue that's in there. Okay, so I'm just going to put the 2 middle screws in case we need to take it apart again for whatever reason. So let us see what the deal is with this motor and stuff. Alright, so first and foremost, get some batteries in there. So this thing is on. Put the main battery in there. Connect that up. Okay. Let's see what's up with this. Tape deck. There you go, now it's playing. There you go. So the only thing that I can think of there is on the RC why it doesn't play is because the last command that was sent to it was stop on the play on the deck. So let's get this remote. All right. There we go. So that's why it wasn't working, because the last command that was sent to it before we disconnected the batteries was a stop, tape stop. Yeah. So that is why. All right, so now let's figure out why the reverse and the forward is all messed up. They should go in like this. Forward. Yeah. So right now, if I hit forward, it goes backwards. The only thing I can think of is that these motors here are reversed. If this turns this way, that's going to turn forward. This way forward. And yeah. Let's reverse these motors here. Try this again. Make sure these wires go underneath these little open tabs. You don't want to crush the wires. Alright. And you want to lift this up just a little bit so the gears settle in. Otherwise, if you keep it flat on the table, it pushes the gears up. So let's, just before we screw everything down, let's just do, well, might as well just screw everything down. All right. There we go. So that's what it was. Is the motors were in backwards. Now how that happened, I have no clue. I can only assume that maybe this was taken apart before, but that's just the weirdest thing to me. All right, I'm gonna, this antenna here, that was taped down. This is the original tape. Let's dump this. Get some new tape in here. Okay. Shut that off. Take out the battery. And put this back together again. Well, that was a first for me. I must have at least half a dozen of these. And that is the first time I've ever encountered the motors being flipped. I don't know if it came that way from the factory or if someone went in there and mucked it up, but there you have it. Okay. Let's make sure this works. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, speaker works. Forward. There we go. Now we go forward. Backward. Now I go backwards. Yes. Right. There we go. Left. Here we go. And then as far as the tape unit is concerned, I don't really have a tape unit to put on there right now, but let's so if I hit play, there we go. Stop. There we go. That should work now because the last command that was sent to it was play. So that is why it wasn't working earlier. Is the problem was that the unit was, the last command that was sent to the unit before it died was stop. So let that be a lesson. That's a new one on me. So I haven't had that before. That you would think after all of these restorations I've had that I would know that. So that's an amateurish mistake, but there you go. And then as far as it going in reverse and forward in opposite directions, someone swapped the motors out and put them back in reverse. So I think we can call this one done. The only thing we're going to do off camera is just clean it up. It's a little bit of a mess, but you know, maybe straighten up the antenna. But once it's cleaned up, the antenna is straightened, off it goes to join the rest of the robots. So hope you learned from my mistakes. That's what the purpose of these videos are. We learn something together, and you know, and I hope it inspires you to go and, you know, put a restoration together of your own. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And you know, my motto always, have fun. You only live once.